Alright, so I'm trying to platinum every single Rockstar game that is on the PS5, and here's all of the ones I've completed so far. But if I can't finish the rest before the channel hits 900,000 subscribers, then I have to platinum Fortnite as my punishment. One of the hardest platinums ever. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Anyways, today I decided to get the hardest of all of the Rockstar games out of the way so I can sleep better at night. Red Dead Redemption 2. Everybody knows it. It's one of the best games ever created and one of the most difficult platinums to achieve due to numerous reasons. The story itself is well over 100 hours. Insane RNG is required, and the online is also no easy task, so there really is zero light at the end of the tunnel when playing this game to platinum. But if you aren't aware, it takes on average 200 hours to finish. It's rated at a 5 out of 10 of difficulty, which is kind of BS, but whatever. And it personally took me around 170 hours to finish, with knowing almost all of the strategies and being the GOAT. There is also only 52 trophies including the platinum for an average of 1 trophy every 3 hours, which is a crazy stat.
That's what I'm saying.
Stage 1 of the platinum is to beat the story as usual, which takes forever, but also there's a few missables to pay attention to inside of it. All of these, however, are very easy to obtain, but they do also span over very large gaps of the story, so you have to keep them in mind for sure. I also did have a single trophy beginning today off from the story's intro because I had played it a while back for fun. But Red Dead Redemption 2 kicks off with a little intro mission with the gang in the snow, and it's very much a tutorial into how to play with the absolute basics to begin with. We got introduced to a few key characters, that being Arthur, of course, the main dude we play as, Dutch, who is the gang we are a part of's leader, and Micah, who is another side character, although he has a lot of evil characteristics throughout the story. Seeing as this game's story is also over 100 hours long, I'm not going to go super in depth with every single thing that happened, but this intro had us go investigate a house full of O'Driscolls, who are a rival gang, and we go back and forth with them essentially the entire time. But we just shot them all dead, then searched the house, also searching the horse barn, and interrogated one of them. The dude mentioned they had a camp somewhere else nearby, and then we ended up finding another side character left in the house, being named Sadie Adler, who was unironically one of my favorite characters of the game. But the O'Driscolls had killed her husband and stole her house, which is what she was hiding in. The next mission had Arthur and Charles, I believe, who was yet again another member of the game, heading up this mountain to find John because he hasn't returned from scouting. And John is also the dude who you play as in the original Red Dead game, which is very neat. But we found him just chilling, all injured on the freezing mountain, and then we got chased by wolves instantaneously after. There was then another O'Driscoll scuffle, but this time it was against a giant load of them. Some would say massive numbers of their forces arrived, and they would be right. But this game's combat in general isn't very hard, especially when using the aim assist lock-on, hence the 5 out of 10 difficulty for the game as we saw. A bit later on, the gang also devised a plan to rob a train full of bonds to make some good dough. And that's also the main thing we do the entire time. Red Dead Redemption 2's story is from a general standpoint a giant crime story, much like Grand Theft Auto 5. Your main goal is to basically just steal from people the whole time and be an outlaw of the Wild West, robbing banks, trains, people, literally anything. I think at one point we also robbed a church, which is dope.
Hey, yo!
But this train robbery went very well and there wasn't really any issues. So we got what we came for. And that was the final thing the lads did before riding out of the snow and into warmer weather, seeing as living in the snow is a feat only real ones can do. This also led us into putting up camp in a new place called Horseshoe Overlook, which is where the next chapter takes place, and the first one ends with our first trophy of the day popping. So we are now in chapter 2, which is when the game really kicks off and you can kind of go anywhere. However, it's still very limited with our current skills and wealth, but this is also when the missable trophies begin to get introduced, and I made sure to knock out one of their parts right away, simply by playing an activity with another person in camp for the Friends with Benefits trophy, requiring you to complete one activity in every camp of the game. But the beginning of chapter 2 really didn't have much happen that was exciting. The only real action holy shit. Before the video continues, I want to say a huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, if you haven't heard of Factor yet, it's a ready-made meal service where you can get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes and then back on the grind. It takes the stress out of meal planning, grocery store trips, prep work, cooking fatigue, and basically everything that takes the fun out of eating great food. And as you guys could probably guess, they did indeed send me some of their meals and juices, which I did indeed indulge in both, and they were bangers. Also getting back in the grind as soon as possible to get more of these platinums for you all. And that's my personal favorite part about Factor. The ready-made aspect makes it extremely easy to just have a great meal, then get back to work instantly without worrying about anything. And my meal of choice today was a truffle butter filet mignon. I think I said that right, but I honestly don't know. However, all you had to do to make it was poke it a few times and then warm it up. It was delicious. One more thing about Factor is they also offer snack options like smoothies, juices, small bites, and more if you aren't a big meal person. You can get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone, and thank you once more to Factor for sponsoring this video. The only real action we saw was from saving a ginger friend of ours from the O'Driscolls, which was a questionable choice. I mean, he's a ginger. So, yeah, he's fine. But my next trophy was actually soon after that from donating $250 to the gang tithing box, which is used to both get new upgrades in camp and also, for this trophy, which is missable. I then went after another missable trophy right after that because my main goal in the story was to get those done with so I could actually enjoy it and not stress about them. But another was possible to be finished right now called breaking and entering from recovering the stash in 4 homesteads. A homestead is just a home, by the way. I know they love their fancy wordings for no reason. Shout out to the English language. But recovering the stash is done by just finding it in the home, and it's usually not hidden too well, to be honest. You can also follow a video guide for them, which is what I did do to finish this before they were technically available to do. So here's that trophy pop, seeing as it worked flawlessly. The next trophy I would get would then be a few hours after and from finishing chapter 2 in general. Now looking back at it, this chapter really was one of the more mundane ones, but that's honestly valid considering it's a building chapter for the more exciting ones to come. However, there was a few more cool things we did, one of which was breaking Micah out of prison with dynamite, and then quite literally killing every single person to ever exist in this poor town. I don't even want to know what the next passerby thought when showing up. Imagine just entering a town and seeing 45 dead bodies bleeding everywhere. Like, what the f are you supposed to do? Probably steal some stuff. I mean, that's what I do, but that's another story. Oh yeah, we also infiltrated a cult as Arthur and had to convince this kid not to be a part of it because it's Arthur's ex-love's brother. Shout out to a woman controlling a man's every move. I know it too well. Anyways, we then just robbed another train. A classic. However, this time it did not go over as well as the previous train encounter. Who would have thought that when you do the same crime twice in a row, mind you, it might not work out. But yeah, we just had to run away from the law, and you can also literally just run south or something across the current area's border, and it removes your wanted level instantly, which is a tool we use later for gold medals. Sorry for getting all technical for a second. I drank an energy drink at 7 a.m. this morning. I'm literally buzzing right now. But yeah, that was the ending of chapter 2 if you don't know. Shout out Rockstar for segueing all of these chapters with the same type of ending. This must be why GTA 6 hasn't dropped yet. They've been toiling over how to creatively rob a bank for the 45th time. But as per usual, the gang also set up camp in some new place being called Clemens Point in a swamp. Don't we just love that, living in a fucking swamp? Here is that chapter 2 trophy, by the way. Sadly though, my next trophy wouldn't be until finishing this chapter, chapter 3. And seeing as the game only has 52 trophies including the platinum, it does make sense that we wouldn't get trophies constantly, but that doesn't make me any less sad inside. But this chapter was surprisingly one of my favorites because it doesn't have any typical Rockstar game activities like robbing trains or banks or homeless people. Oh my god! Instead, it had us ping pong back and forth between 2 very wealthy families who own plantations in the South. Classic 1800s to early 1900 activities. But you basically just do chores or deeds for the 2 families, burning fields of produce, stealing horses, killing people, and it ends off with us finally taking out this absolute bitch-ass woman who was like the kingpin of her family and empire. And you storm into her house, take out everybody, then burn it to the ground and drag her ass out with us to finish the job. This is gonna put a bounty on her head for sure, but it was fun, so who cares, right? After that fun though, the next day had us setting up camp once more in a new spot. This time it was in an actual house, still inside the swamps though, but it was right next to St. Dennis. Bruh. I know that's not how you say it, okay?
Stop the cap.
But this city is the only real modern city of the game and also a very cool area in general. Anyways, here's that chapter 3 finished trophy regardless. But chapter 4 had a lot more plot this time that actually mattered. The first bit of story had us trying to get in with Angelo Bronte, who is the richest dude in town and controls a lot of it with the power that comes with having infinite money. But he also had Jack, who was John's son, kidnapped, so we had to go get in with his good faith in return for Jack. And he had us just go into this cemetery and kill people who were disturbing it. So at least their burial will be quick, I guess. I was then just riding around to another mission after and ended up finally reaching maximum bond with my horse for an easy trophy pop. And this chapter also featured the last camp we would use in the story, so I made sure to clean up or rather just get those missable trophies in relation to the various camps. I have also been doing these activities in each chapter so far, as you know, but the first one I got was the Friends with Benefits trophy from doing an activity in each camp. And then I also did do another missable trophy called Errand Boy from finishing 5 companion item requests. This trophy, by the way, is super annoying since a companion item request is a bit difficult to get. They don't just give them away for free, which I found kind of dumb, and almost every single one of them I had to initiate myself. So if you go for this plat, you can almost just disregard the ones that claim to be simply given to you. It's not gonna happen, but okay. But the items themselves are all easy to get, you know, even easier if you Google them like I did. Once I delivered my 5th one, the trophy then popped. I then just finished chapter 4, which was another kind of mid-chapter until the ending of it, which featured yet again another bank robbery. And I know that sounds repetitive because it is, but this bank robbery was a city bank, which means big racks, fat stacks, and giant amounts of cash. However, with that increased value, it's also increased security and danger, and the gang would find out just how much more of an increase this was because we got caught almost immediately. I'm actually impressed by the response time considering they don't have much technology back then. Some would say it's almost like we have a snitch on the inside, but long story short, it all went to hell. And we had to just run away, killing anyone in sight to not die ourselves. Eventually, we ended up hiding away in some attic like Anne Frank did back in the day, and we hid out here until nightfall because darkness is awesome for not getting seen by the police. And eventually, we ran onto a cargo ship that was heading out to hide on it and escape because this was the only viable option the boys could come up with. And it was kind of funny because Arthur and Dutch and the rest made it there easily. Then you just low-key be chilling on a boat. Very peaceful and scenic. That is until a storm happened and the entire ship capsized. The weather must have been a paid actor, or this is a message from God above that we are being bad boys. But through the graces of God, however, Arthur just washed up on shore, albeit he was a bit disheveled. But we are now on Guarma, and the Chapter 4 trophy popped with Chapter 5 beginning now. And this chapter is my personal least favorite out of the main chapters of the game. It is kind of neat, but at the same time, it's kind of boring just because of the premise of it. I also did not get a single trophy throughout its entirety until finishing it. But Chapter 5 had us on the island, obviously, and it was also full of a controlling party that did not welcome us whatsoever. So we kind of just messed with them and their bases on it until launching a full-blown assault and causing mass chaos in an effort to escape. Long story short, everyone made it back to the mainland, and once getting everyone together for a type of meeting, this one hoe said she was the snitch and then she got shot almost instantly. Snitches get stitches is a common saying, although I'm not sure stitches are going to cure her hole in the stomach. The Chapter 5 trophy then popped right after, and we are on to Chapter 6, the finale. Chapter 6 is very, very good, by the way. And for some backstory, if you aren't aware, Arthur is sick with tuberculosis, which was incurable when this game took place. So he's literally dying and decides to go on a kind of noble venture in his final days of being a good dude, which in turn raised my honor to maximum, and I got a trophy from just that. One of the more pinnacle missions here was called Goodbye Old Friend, and it had us cosplay as policemen in the city of St. Denis, attending the public execution of Colm O'Driscoll, who is the O'Driscoll gang's leader and Dutch's nemesis, quite frankly. He got caught and had a plan to escape, but we took out his scapegoat and then watched him get executed. The trophy from it then popped once that mission concluded. I then took a veer off of the main story and finished up all of the optional honor missions of the game for the last missable trophy called Lending a Hand. Now, I'm not sure if you really need to do this because it says there's a glitch to cheese it in case you miss one on the trophy guide, but that guide itself is also a bit outdated and the game has changed considerably since its release, so I just made sure to do all of these anyways, and most of them were quite fun, so it was fine with me. But upon finishing this final one right here with Sadie Adler, the trophy popped in succession. My next trophy would then be from finishing Chapter 6, which is the quote-unquote final chapter of the game. But the finale had Arthur, Dutch, and the rest of the gang robbing more people, causing chaos, and we were after state bonds once more, which can just be cashed in for tons of money. However, it did go wrong like usual, and Arthur got caught with Dutch doing nothing to save him and just walking away. A traitor. Thankfully, this Indian Chad just walked in and dropped everyone saving us.
I love you, bitch.
Once confronting Dutch after, he also tried to downplay his blatant betrayal, and I really do not appreciate it. Bro is so not invited to the family function from now on. Anyways, let's go to the game's ending now because it's genuinely beautiful. Long story short, Micah and Dutch turned evil, and you can tell when they do because it's very obvious throughout the game that these two are kind of sketchy, but they end up chasing Arthur and John, who are the two good guys left, and there's a giant battle. Arthur basically gets his ass kicked, but due to his sickness, they don't even kill the dude. They just let him die peacefully on a mountain, and that's actually a good thing. Bro died staring at nature like God intended. The final main story trophy then popped and we entered the epilogue. Now forgive me when I say this for all the die-hard Red Dead Redemption 2 fans, but the epilogue of this game is almost entirely balls. I hated it. It felt like a total stretch of gameplay and not needed whatsoever. I mean, for f***'s sake, we played Carpenter like a child with building blocks. What the hell is this? Regardless though, once we played Construction Simulator as John, the first of 2 trophies popped in this epilogue. And the next trophy I got was the final story trophy from beating every chapter or part or whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm talking about. And this game story ended off with John and Sadie Adler hunting down Micah, who was evil as we know, and also the person they blamed for killing Arthur. So there's a giant mission with loads of combat, also the only good part about this 6 to 10 hour epilogue sequence. But Dutch also showed up and for some reason he shot Micah. Yeah, I don't know why, but still, Dutch and Micah for life. We also got given their treasure they found, which will be used a lot in the cleanup of this game's story trophies to come. Before that, however, here is the game's final story trophy popping finally. So now it's time to move on to the cleanup stages of this game's story mode, which consist of hours upon hours upon hours of grinding. tedious as activities, and RNG beyond RNG being needed. Now, before anything really major, I first got some simple trophies to ease the pain to come. The first one I got was from spending 5 grand across all of the shops of the game, which is easy to do considering we have a ton of money due to the treasure we just got from Dutch. I then survived 3 days with a bounty of $250 across all the states on the game. And this did actually take a while to set up, which was weird considering it's so simple, but things in this game just take forever to do. Like even riding your horse to areas of the game just takes time, and that's the reason as to why it's such a long game to complete. But once I had the $250 bounty in all of the states, you can just skip time by sleeping at a campfire to make that go relatively quickly. I then just robbed or looted $250 from people for another trophy, which can be done easily, naturally, or through chapter select on a certain mission that has high value enemies. I then spent that money upgrading every available component of a weapon for another trophy. I played all of the mini games in the game, which is a natural trophy with challenges anyways later on. And before beginning the grind, I just paid respects to every fallen companion we had throughout the game. Turns out a lot of people died, but here's the trophy regardless. However, sadly after that I began the Zoologist and Skin Deep trophy grind. And I say these two in specificity because they are the hardest and most RNG luck-based trophy of this game, taking the most time and being one of the most boring, annoying, and insanely frustrating things I've ever done in any game I've ever played. Red Dead Redemption 2 contains over 170 different animals within it, requiring you to find every single one of them and study them with the binoculars or just looking at them closely. And then you also need to kill and skin most of them. Not every single one, but you really should be killing them anyways just in case. And yeah, this is notorious for being horrible. My only real advice for getting these and finding some of the animals is to look them up on Reddit, because for some reason Reddit just has the absolute best spots to find these damn creatures that most video guides don't show. But it still is very much a luck thing, and sometimes the animals just won't be there until they are. And there really isn't much you can do aside from save loading, resting at fires, and praying, quite literally. But like all things, after a while I did complete it. I lost a bit of my soul and happiness left my life, but I studied the final animal here, got the trophy, then killed it, skinned it, and got that trophy along with crying tears of joy, sorrow, and regret. However, just because that hard and grindy part of the game is finished, it doesn't mean we aren't done suffering, and boy oh boy, it definitely did not get any better. In fact, I think it just got worse with the coming trophies. I had a few more random ones which I did, consisting of finishing some random side quests that gave a trophy, crafting 30 unique items which took a while because you need like literally everything in the game to do, survived 18 bear attacks which was dumb as hell and I just used a method to farm them, and I caught a fish that weighed more than a fat cat does. Completed 10 stranger mission strands, which took forever because they have to have multiple parts for them to even count as a strand, which I guess that kind of does make sense. But after that, I then began the challenges of Red Dead Redemption 2. There is 90 of them with 9 different subsections and 10 in each. I thought the animal trophies were torture, but this is almost worse. It took me more time to do all of these, by the way, which is just so much fun. However, I'm not joking when I say this. It was actually kind of, it was kind of fun to do the challenges. At least those that didn't relate to animals again. But just for some more lore and, video runtime, the 9 challenges are Bandit, Explorer, Gambler, Herbalist, Horseman, Master Hunter, Sharpshooter, Survivalist, and Weapons Expert. Blah, 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 blah. All of them cover a different aspect of this game, so there really wasn't much crossing over when going after the respectable challenges. Now, I could make an entire video covering these themselves because they contain some of the most bizarre and honestly fun things to try and do, which is why I'm not really upset about them being a part of the game, more just annoyed because of how much lifetime I spent getting them done. But during this process, I did get a few trophies, as you have seen, going after that 100% completion trophy, which required all of the challenges, and that's the main thing it did consist of outside the story missions. The final part I had in the challenges was to find all of the exotics, which people say are hard, but I just followed this map from IGN and I got almost all of them first try, or first chase, if you will. That map is also probably the only good thing IGN has ever contributed to the gaming world, so shout out to whoever made that. But then I did get the 100% completion trophy right here, and only one more trophy remained in the story mode stages. Achieve 70 gold medals and story missions. Remember when I said there wasn't ever a light at the end of the tunnel when trying to platinum this game? Yeah, it just gets worse. I'm not even joking. My entire time platinuming this game, it was just a downward spiral more and more and more. And I didn't once feel like I was close, because I wasn't. But getting 70 gold medals isn't really that hard, especially since they updated it and gave you much more items to use and stats compared to the game on release when replaying it. But it still does take forever because you are literally replaying the game, to be honest. However, there's a spreadsheet out there I would suggest you follow if you wish to see the easiest levels, the tips and tricks, and it's just a great tool to help. But yeah, I don't want to talk about these because it's just replaying the game basically, with doing the levels gold medal requirements, obviously. So here's that trophy once I finally got it about 30 hours later in my life. I'm gonna gonna go cry more than I already am. Give me a second here. I'm gonna get emotional. But with that trophy done, we've officially finished the story trophies for Red Dead Redemption 2. Stage 4 is to now do the online, which contains another 30 plus hours of grinding and numerous trophies. Although with the method I used, this was not a very hard stage. It did still take forever to do though. But the first trophy I got was from finishing the intro to Red Dead Online, which is trash. Blatantly, this game's online sucks, and I think everyone agrees with that unless you're a little Arthur Morgan simp stan. But the first method I used to get trophies and reach level 50, which is the main grind of this online trophy stage, was the collector method. The collector is a role in Red Dead Online, which has you pick a bunch of flowers, find collectible cards, and dig up random shit around the map to complete collections, which reward you with a ton of cash and XP to help level and boost your character. It does take quite a lot of time to get these finished, by the way, but there is an amazing map to help get most of them found. So I literally just did this for like 15 hours straight, and the trophies I got during this time were from picking 25 herbs, reaching rank 10, achieving 5 gold belts from awards, purchasing 5 camp improvements, owning 5 horses at the same time, selling 20 items with the butcher, and completing a free roam mission while a part of a posse. But then once I reached about rank 37 or 38, I had run out of collectibles to get because I found them all. And I wanted to get that level 50 fast still, so I was forced to use a different method, and this one might have been better. Although it does kind of require, or at least help, having money to buy tonics because you basically need them to make this doable. But the second method I used was by going to Thieves Landing and just killing everyone there with free aim to give more XP, and you can get between 500 to 1000 XP per round of doing this. Once everyone is dead, you then just run away and run back until the NPCs respawn, and you just do that over and over and over again. There's lots of bonuses per kill like special ammo, headshots, deadeye, riding on a horse. All of them add up greatly, and I farmed this for about 4 or 5 hours, and it got me from level 38 to 50, so it's very good and still works. And here's that level 50 trophy finally. I then did get a few more random trophies before boosting or trying to boost some co-op ones. The first one I got was from crafting 25 pieces of ammo, then crafting 20 items in general, and I then recruited multiple people from my Discord server linked below to assist in some online trophies that remained. First being from forming a persistent posse, which is free now in Red Dead Online, and it apparently wasn't back in the beginning of it. But then I just had one of my friends go start a free roam mission, and I interrupted it, stole his package, and then I delivered it myself for a trophy. And the last part of these co-op trophies, at least the hard trophy, was from getting MVP in a race 3 times. And you can't really boost it because the game does not have a private lobby function, which is very odd. But before anything else, I got a trophy from just taking part in a series to begin with. And after an hour of trial and error, me and the boys finally found a good method of just doing races and having all of them grief or interrupt the opponents to help me guarantee a win. And with doing this, I got MVP 3 times in 4 matches, so it was very good, and huge thanks to everyone who assisted me, including NLP, Yeti Teddy, Sevfo, Alex GA, Andreas, and a few others I can't find the names of, but I still love you. But after getting that MVP trophy, the day wasn't quite done because I still had 2 more trophies remaining, both of which related to free roam things, however, so it's very simple. I had to do 10 random stranger free roam missions, which are little orange icons around the map. All of them are easy, and I did 10 without any troubles. I then had to wait around for free roam events to happen, which occur at random, and I didn't do any yet, so I kind of just AFK'd until they showed up, did 5 of them, and the final trophy then popped with the Platinum Trophy in succession. So that was the Red Dead Redemption 2 Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, I think the game is amazing. However, getting the Platinum did make me want to end it all, so that has, stained my view largely, but I'm not gonna trash on a game that is genuinely great just because its developers made the trophies a new torture method that will be studied by historians in the future. So rating it out of 10, I'll give Red Dead Redemption 2 a solid 9. Would have been a 10, but those trophies made me want to die. Also, please subscribe. I lost many years of my life in the making of this video. I need a fucking therapist, bro. What the fuck?